Nat 20. Hi folks, Merlin here, bringing you another Dungeons & Dragons adventure video. So today we're going to be taking a look at issue 7. So this comes with the lowdown on weapons and armour, a beautiful set of glow-in-the-dark dice, and we even discover a new race in the form of the Gnomes. And of course we have the usual brand new encounter to go through. So yeah, had a few points pointed out to me on my last video where I mistook backgrounds for new classes. So I'll be correcting that in the video where we look at those in particular pages. Other than that, everything is going swimmingly for Dungeons & Dragons. I've put the first 6 issues away in a folder. Not that keen on the dividers. Dividers are about a centimetre bigger than the actual pages of the magazine. And yeah, it's not gelling with me, really. I may cut them down a little bit. Cut in some tabs to make finding each section easier, but other than that, I'm not liking their size and the fact that they're blank on the back as well. But yeah, I mentioned that in my last video, so I won't go too much into it. Yeah, definitely getting some different folders though, I think, for the rest of the collection. So yeah. Right, we'll jump over to the table shortly, but before we do, don't forget to, of course, check all the links and stuff in the description down below, including my Patreon page, which will be detailed more about what I'm going to be doing next year with in my next Mumbles video, which will be coming up after this one, hopefully. Yeah, don't forget, of course, to like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already. And why not share this with your local D&D group to get the channel noticed a bit more. So yeah, without further ado, I think we'll dive into issue 7 then. So let's jump over to the table. So here we are then with issue 7, and we're ready to go through it. So we've got my dice tray ready to give our dice the customary roll. And here they are, the beautiful glow-in-the-dark set. So, not very glowy at the moment, but once they are charged up pretty well, they glow spectacularly. You'll probably want to leave them for a good hour or more in a bright light area to give them a good long charge, especially for a play session. But yeah, we'll try and get them glowing on camera in just a sec. I'll give them a charge up with a torch on my camera. And yeah, we'll see how they glow. So here we have the issue. We have a new and exclusive adventure. We have details on weapons, learning about puzzles in the DM's arsenal, and we meet the gnomes ready for our new character. And we also learn about gold and the currencies of the Forgotten Realms. Right then, I'll charge up those dice. We'll give them a roll and a glow, shall we? So I've given them a charge, and here they are. They do look actually pretty good when they glow. So yeah. Yeah, definitely looks better in the pitch black under the cloth here. So yeah, that's them glowing. Let's give them their first roll. Alright, lights back on so we can see what we're doing. And let's roll these dice. Not very good on the D3. We got a D8, D20 even. Sorry, we only got a 3. 10 on the D12, 8 on the D8, so that's not bad. 3 on the D4, 17 and a 4 on the D10s, and a 2 on the D6. Not the best first roll, but I'll just give him another roll just to see if the luck's gone. A little bit better, but not terribly too great. But yeah, either way, a fun little set of dice, I think. Their glow feature won't show up very well in this light. Does look pretty cool, but like I said, you'll want to give it a good long charge in a near a bright light to give them a good charge for playing with. I know I've had them nearby my bedside lamp, and they've ended up glowing at the end of my bed over the night. But yeah, pretty cool, another gimmicky set, but a great set nonetheless. Right then, let's take a look at issue 7, and we've got some new information to cover. Right, here we go then. So, what do we learn in issue 7? So, our full contents for the issue. We got our adventure number 7, The Grey Winds Conundrum. We have a buttload of pages for Sage Advice. So, section A, pages 6 and 10, Conditions Part 2 and Currency. Section B, the DM, Puzzles. And we got 4 pages for Combat. Section 2, Actions and Bonus Actions and Combat. Weapons Part 1 and 2, and Armour. And we have our new species, the Gnome, which, as we say here, we'll be introducing in issue 9. And the usual bottom boxes here then. So, issue comes with a set of glow-in-the-dark dice, which you've just seen. And we got our QR code for Dungeons & Dragons Beyond. Right, continuing on from a few issues ago then, we have Conditions Part 2. So, additional effects can aid or impair characters and the creatures they encounter. So yeah, this continues what we started in, I think it was issue 4 or 5, where we started looking at conditions. So it goes over previous mentioned conditions, so blinded, charmed, deafened, frightened, incapacitated, invisible, poisoned, prone, restrained, and unconscious, which we can see here. Check out page 6A. A lot of these reference sections aren't going to be that easy, poignant, because a lot of these pages are going to be next to each other anyway, so you could easily just look back a page. Plus, as we'll see later, some even mention specific issues. But yeah, we go into a little bit more depth of some of the conditions here. So we're looking at exhaustion, grappled, paralyzed, petrified, and stunned this time around. So exhaustion is pretty much what it would be in real life. It's how your fatigue has hit your character. So you start off at level 1 and it goes up to level 6, where the conditions will stack and get worse. So at a level 1 exhaustion, you have disadvantage on your ability checks, as you have a lack of being able to comprehend the world around you and understand things, or remember things. Level 2, your speed is halved as you are getting extremely tired. Plus, you'll also have the effects of level 1. Level 3, disadvantage on your attack rolls and saving rolls, plus level 2 and 1 effects. Level 4, your hit point maximum is halved until you are healed up, or rested up, should I say. Plus you get your level 3, 2 and 1 effects. And level 5, your speed is reduced to 0, plus all the previous effects. And level 6 is death. So yeah. You can reduce the amount of exhaustion your character has by taking a rest, which will reduce the level of exhaustion by 1. As we've mentioned already, you get stacks. So if you have a level 3 exhaustion, you have the effects of level 2, which is half speed, and level 1, which is disadvantage on ability checks. So yeah, if you have another effect, like a spell or passive ability that allows you to remove exhaustion effects, you there are ones that allow you to remove all, or some will reduce your levels until you are below 1, which you are no longer classed as exhausted. Finishing a long rest will, of course, reduce your total by 1, and being raised from the dead as well. So grappled, this is basically where you are restrained in close quarters combat. As we see here, a magic carpet and a giant frog has grappled a couple of people there. So yeah, your speed becomes 0, and you will become free of the condition if the grappler is incapacitated, or if you are somehow removed from their vicinity. Paralyzed is another similar condition where you aren't physically restrained, you are either stunned by being hit on the head or a paralyzing spell. You'll automatically fail strength and dexterity rolls, and attacks against you have advantage as long as you are within 5 feet. Petrified is, again, another similar thing to paralysis, though you are literally turned to stone. This is a good way to postpone the effects of poisoning, as it mentions over the page there. You increase your weight by 10, and you don't age, which is pretty good. You'll drop all magical items that you are carrying, and anything mundane will be turned to stone along with you. You automatically fail strength and dexterity rolls, but you have resistance to damage and, as we mentioned, immunity to poison. Though it doesn't actually neutralize it, it just stops it from affecting damage to your body. And finally, stunned then, so this is not as bad as paralyzed or petrified. Stunned creature is incapacitated. They can't move and can barely speak, so sort of slowing. I think it hit me on the head. The creature automatically fails strength and dexterity saving throws, and attacks have advantage again. So, something brand new to look at then, we have page 10 of the overview, and this focuses on currency and the coins of the Forgotten Realms. Money makes the D&D world go round, whether it's gold, silver, or electrum. So yeah, much like in the real world, money is kind of essential for day-to-day life. Your money at the start is based on your background as well as your class. So, for example, an acolyte background here would start with 15 gold point pieces, while a hermit has a lowly 5. This, of course, isn't going to be the only way you get money. You can get money by selling things, raiding treasures, or even completing quests. But just remember, not everything precious is worth a high value. Some things have more importance to a person than their monetary value. Just remember this when you are picking clean a zombie corpse. So yeah, spending power. You might think it's possible to go from level 1 to 20 without needing to spend a penny. However, there's loot across the world, including 3 new weapons, new armour, and new scrolls to learn magic. This isn't a video game, it's a story, so your character does have to have a life outside of monster slaying. So it goes to say we'll explore lifestyles and stuff in a future article, but there's things that will cause you to have to spend money throughout things, such as living a comfortable life will cost you 2 gold pieces a day. If you're an aristocratic lifestyle, you will have to end up paying something like 10 gold pieces a day. Food and drink and other services will have values to them. Staying at a fairly modest inn will cost you 5 pieces. A hunk of meat will cost you 3 pieces of silver. And a fine bottle of wine will cost you 10 gold pieces. Renting a horse, which would cost you 75 to buy your own, will cost you 3 copper pieces per mile. Or to send a messenger, it will cost you 2 copper pieces per mile. And here we have at the bottom a description of each of the different pieces. So a copper piece, much like in the real world, this is like your pennies. There's 100 to a gold piece, 10 to a silver piece. Silver pieces then are pretty much the same, so these are your 5s and 10p's. So there are 10 silver pieces to a gold, and yeah, 5 to an electrum here. So an electrum is a special kind of in-between gold and silver piece. Pretty rare, it's worth half a gold piece and is considered to be worth 5 silvers, so 50. And then, yeah, we got our gold piece here. So this is your standard currency, the one you'll see most of. Good amount. A single gold piece will get you a goat, a 50 feet of hempen rope, and a bedroll as well. Then the rarest of all are platinum pieces, like electrum. These are rare and exotic, but have a value 10 times worth that of gold. So yeah, food for thought there. Moving on, then we've got a little bit of background here for the DM's Sage Advice section, and this is all about puzzles. So from riddles to moving boxes, there's an array of puzzles DMs can introduce to test their adventurous skills and quick thinking. So yeah, pretty self-explanatory here. It goes through explaining how to include puzzles in your games, whether it's just a simple riddle or even a more complex requiring props sort of puzzle, which we'll learn more of over the page. There's a pantheon of puzzles, so DMs, it's suggested that between games you have a look online. A quick search will give you a slew of puzzles and riddles that you can choose to use in your games. So the secret to a satisfying puzzle is to make it not too complicated and not too easy. Too easy and your adventurers might just get further than you actually planned. Too complicated and they might even be struggling to get further in the game. So a good puzzle is one that makes them feel smart, but at the same time takes a small amount of time to actually solve. And at the bottom here we got a couple of classic puzzles. So the tiled floor. This is a chamber with a floor with letters or some form of text written across them. You're given a riddle and you must spell out the answer by stepping only on the stones that spell out the answer. There's the mirrored room. This one is a room again which has a glass/mirrored wall, but it doesn't show an exact opposite. It's up to the party to rearrange the contents of the room in order to make the images match. And finally, we have the empty-handed statue. This is a pretty basic one. It's a statue that looks like it should be holding something, but that something is missing. So it's up to the players to find out the item and put it in the statue's hand. So at the bottom here, it says, Tyre, the god of justice, should be holding a set of scales. Moving on, pages. It's going to be looking at combat for our final bits of lore. So this is about actions and bonus actions inside of combat. So choose your actions and bonus actions wisely to foil your enemies and aid your allies. So as we've already discussed in previous issues, the fundamentals of combat, there are 3 actions to do: movement, action, and bonus action. You can do these in any order you want throughout your turn. I believe you can split your movement, so you can move, do an action, and then take the remaining move. I'm not too sure, it's been a while since I've actually played. Plus you also have your reaction. So going into the list of different actions you can do in your turn. So we have the most standard, which is attack. We have cast a spell, second standard for our wizard characters. We have dash, disengage, and dodge. Just remember the 5 Ds of dodgeball: duck, dip, dodge, dive, and dodge. It's twice as much dodging as anything else. There's also help and hide. So help is basically giving a bit of an assistance to another member of your party. Hiding is taking cover from an enemy. The ready action allows you to prepare an attack or spell ready for a reactive attack. We also have search, so your ability to take a look around the local vicinity and discover items. And also you can use an object like a potion. Monsters will have specific actions sometimes, like multi-attack. So this is described by the DM. And we'll choose whether the multi-attack will make a single, 2 or more attacks, and melee or ranged. Then your bonus action, so this is most common to me, which is the 2-weapon fighting ability. So as a bonus action, you can, if you have 2 single-handed weapons, make a regular attack, and then dual wield, as it's already also known, make a second attack with another weapon in your opposite hand. So, speaking of weapons then, let's look at part 1 and 2 about weapons. Choose your weapon wisely. Your life may depend on it. So at some point during a Dungeons & Dragons campaign, you'll be glad that the weapon you're clutching is there. Whether it's protecting against predators or animated zombies, or if it's a bandit trying to relieve you of your coin purse. Weapons are essential to any adventurer's lifestyle. You can't get too far without them, but you can, of course, use bare hands if you need be, which we'll discuss over the page. So, types of weapons. There are 2 types of weapons. These are melee and ranged. So, melee weapons are, of course, your standard hand weapons. So, a mace, an axe, a hammer, a sword, or even a dagger and staff. And ranged weapons are, of course, things like your bow, slings, or even a melee weapon that has the light and throwing abilities. So, weapon proficiencies. If you have a proficient skill in a specific type of weaponry, you gain a bonus on your attack dice from it. And there are a different subcategory of different types of weapons. So simple, which commoners can use, mostly NPCs, and martial weapons, which require a little more training to use. So these are pole arms, great swords, axes, etc. And as I mentioned earlier, here we have the unarmed strike. So you can do a unarmed attack if you don't have a weapon to hand, be it a punch, a kick, or a headbutt, or use a forceful blow from your body in some way to strike the opponent. We have a weapons table here on particular weapons. So we have the weapon type, how much it costs to buy it, the damage type, the weight, and any other properties. Won't go through it, but feel free to pause the video and take a look for yourself. Continuing with weapons then, part 2 looks at understanding the finer points of your chosen weapon. Turn an item you pick up into something dangerous and fill both hands for maximum attacks. So ammunition, this is needed for weapons that have a particular limit to how many times you can shoot with it. So you might have a quiver that can only hold 10 arrows, giving you 10 attacks with your arrows. You can, of course, spend a action after a combat has happened to pick up half of your expended ammo. So any others you'll have to fill out with money from your purse. We cover things such as finesse weapons. So these are weapons that are fine-tuned, such as rapiers. You can add your strength or dexterity modifier to the attack and damage rolls, whichever is better. I know my character has a little bit better dexterity than strength, and he often uses that to add to his rapier attacks. They're heavy weapons, so small and tiny creatures won't be able to use these very well. Light weapons, these are perfect for fighting with 2 hands or 2 weapons, and even make ideal throwing weapons. Loading, these weapons will require you a bonus action to load the ammunition, and regardless, you can only fire once with it. Range, so obviously a weapon will have a specific range in feet sometime, if it's a ranged weapon. Reach, some weapons might add extra bit of length to you, such as pole arms. Throwing weapons, as we've mentioned, are weapons that can be thrown. Two-handed are large weapons, such as a grand hammer, which requires two hands in order to swing it. And versatile means they are weapons that can be used by single or double-handed, such as a broadsword with a two-handed grip. So, as we mentioned earlier, here we have two weapon fighting, so it's possible to make two attacks in a round of combat, as long as you have two weapons available, so you can do a dominant hand and an offhand. So, light melee weapons such as daggers, hand axes, hand crossbows, light hammers, scimitars and short swords, or even sickles, are ideal weapons. As long as you meet any of the such above criteria, you can of course make your second attack. You don't add your modifier unless it's a negative modifier, sadly. If you have a weapon that can be thrown, like a dagger or hand axe, you can of course use it as a ranged weapon. That's not the only weapons you can use. There are improvised weapons. So these are weapons that not ordinarily are lethal, but can be. So, for instance, our cook here can use the frying pan to lethal effect here. And it's usually up to the DM's discretion on what attack and damage each particular improvised weapon will give out. So a frying pan here would give 1d4 bludgeoning. And finally then, for our section on the ins and outs of the game, we look at armour. So, choosing the right armour for your character provides the movement and protection that they need. So, we don't go into the world naked, although you probably could, but wouldn't be greatly appreciated by passerbys. It's a good fun adventure to go out with some form of armour. So this will of course determine your base armour class, or AC, and of course determine as well the greater effects of protection. You also get the same proficiency with armour as you would with weapons. So if you wear an armour that you lack proficiency with, you have disadvantage on ability checks, saving throws or attack rolls that involve strength and dexterity, and you can't cast spells. But if you are proficient with that armour, you of course do get that bonus. Some particular heavy types of armour will require you to have a base strength of a certain number in order to actually don it and walk around in it. So there are three classes of armour: light, medium and heavy. These are all broken down into other categories. So light, you have padded, leather and studded armour. Medium armour, you have hide, chain shirt, scale mail, breastplate and half plate. And of course your heaviest of all armour includes ring mail, chain mail, splint and plate armour. Again, we've got another table down here, so if you want to pause and take a look at those, feel free. Finally, we can't always get into our armour instantaneously. It does take a specific amount of time in game. So light armour is easiest to get in and out of, only 1 minute on, 1 minute off. Medium armour, 5 minutes to get into it, 1 minute to get it off. Heavy armour, 10 minutes in, 5 minutes out. And a shield is an action to equip during combat. Finally then, before our adventure, we have a look at our newest race, the Gnomes. Rock Gnomes are known for their ingenuity as tinkerers, Forest Gnomes as natural illusionists, and the subterranean Deep Gnomes for their stealthiness and tenacity. So yeah, Gnomes may be small, but they live large, and they are a pretty long-lived species. They don't have much of a physical presence, but they make up for it with ingenuity and craftsmanship. Usually the loudest voice in an inn is often a gnome's. So yeah, they're pretty tech savvy guys. They're often thinking new ways to improve on their technology and war gear. But yeah, not all gnomes are, of course, that outgoing. The deep gnomes, or the Zvir, that's a tongue twister, Zurfniblim, as they are known, like to lead a life of secrecy and, of course, live in the Underdark. So here we see the forest gnome that we will be playing in issue 9. So these are the shyest and smallest and most secretive of all the gnomes. They are found deep in the forests of Faerun. They reside in hidden villages where they favour the ways of nature as canny and magically adept hunter-gatherers. So yeah, they are often referred to as the Forgotten Folk, as, yeah, it's easy to overlook a gnome. Barely reaching 4 feet high, a gnome is, of course, some of the smallest creatures in the Forgotten Realms. It is said they first appeared 25,000 years in the past as a deity breathed life into gems he found tucked deep beneath a mountain. So yeah, diamonds yielded rock gnomes, emeralds forest gnomes, and rubies yielded the Zvirfneblin. I will practice that word and I'll get it right eventually. But yeah, they aren't the most known or famous of the creatures of the Forgotten Realms, but they are attempting to make a name for themselves. Right then, finally then we take a look at this week's encounter. So Greywind's Conundrum, so a second level mission taking 1 to 2 hours. So Linine Greywind, the owner and manager of a trading post in the frontier town of Phandalin, recently ordered a magical box to secure her most valuable treasures. Unfortunately, it arrived without instructions explaining how to open it. The puzzle box is riddled with devious traps to deter thieves. Fearful for her own safety, Linine hires the adventurers to uncover how it operates before she falls foul of its tricks. So, yeah, it's a pretty laid-back sort of mission. It gives the players a chance to test their puzzle-solving skills and how to open the box. If you solve them in the wrong order, there are consequences. So there's different faces: dragon, rabbits, wombats, badgers, and tarantulas, as well as the clockwork defender. So yeah, there's a hidden parchment which has a little note here, which actually gives you the instructions on how to use it. So it's handy putting it inside the actual box. There's a treasure within. You do get the flying sword though as a bonus. And there's the enemy there, the clockwork defender. Right, I'll bring everything back in and I'll give you my final thoughts on issue 7. So there we go with issue 7, a information heavy issue, but I did manage to read it just under an hour, I think it was. I read the first 2 pages, but was getting distracted by videos I was watching, so I couldn't pay attention to what I was reading, and read the rest in a separate sitting. But yeah, really handy issue, I think. Gives us a nice lot of information to help understand more and more aspects of the game. It's nice that we cover weapons and armour all in one section. Could have been nice to have it early on, but I don't think it is all that important early on. We had the basics, which was more than enough, I think. Now that we're getting more and more experience in gaming, it's nice to have these advanced sections detailing more information on the different types of weapons and armor we can get in game. Yeah, another handy section for the DM. Kind of surprised we haven't had more for the DM. This is, I suppose, focusing more and more on players. Perhaps in later issues we will get more on the DM. Yeah, yet to see if we're going to be getting another booklet. It's been a while since we had the first booklet, which I believe was actually issue 1. So I was expecting one booklet every delivery maybe, but we've been very low on extras this delivery. We've literally just had dice in delivery 3 plus our binder. Hopefully then issues 11, 12, 13 and 14 might have something a little more to offer. I'm really hoping we get some more maps, as well as the aforementioned booklets to help us understand certain aspects of the game a little better. Perhaps once we get a little more prolific in our spellcasting, we'll get one all on spellcasting. But yeah, we definitely could do a few extra things released with this collection. Moving on then to the free gifts. The dice are pretty cool. As I mentioned earlier, they're pretty much a nice gimmicky set. Have a nice feel to them and they roll pretty well. So yeah, like I said, give them a good couple of hours charge and they'll easily last a play session for you, I think. Yeah, that's pretty much it for the issue. Yeah, final thoughts. Nice lot of information. Really enjoyed that part of the magazine. I know we've had a lot where we haven't had a lot of information. We've been focusing more on the classes, which has been important at those times. But it's nice we got a bit more background on the actual game and play features of the game. The dice, yeah, it's another set of dice. We're going to get bored of these eventually. But that just does segue into what I wanted to mention quickly, which is we have seen Fohammer. If you follow the link in the description down below, you'll be able to see he's revealed issues 12 to 22. And yeah, they're mostly dice. There's one issue where we're getting a new sheet of tokens. So 2 new characters and 2 monsters. A ghoul and a I forgot the name of it. Giant cat thing with weird tentacle arms coming out of his back. But yeah, we're getting that in a later issue. I think that's issue 13. Issue 14, we get a set of tokens for inspiration. But yeah, majority of it is dice. We are moving into our second set of adventures. So we're going to be getting blue and silver dice. There are some nice ones. There's the ones with mini axes inside. There's a nice ice effect set. And even a blue set of the dice that we had, or will be getting, sorry, in issue 8, which are the really fancy red dice with the D&D and as the high value. The blue set, I must admit, I like a lot better than the red set. It's certainly a lot clearer to read than the red set is. So, yeah. But that's a little farther in the future, so yeah. It's going to be a while before we get those. But yeah, that's it for this video. I've gone on long enough, I think, by now. So thank you all very much for watching. If you think I deserve it, please give this video a like and drop a comment down below. I love getting your feedback. I love having a good chat with you guys. The most common question I do get asked is, am I going to be doing playthroughs? I am working on it. Maybe over Christmas I might get the first one done. But yeah, I'm still researching. I want to try and get it properly researched before I dive into doing it too much and get things wrong. But yeah, it's going to be pretty much last point. I have got some stuff that will be arriving soon. I picked up on Black Friday. That will be kind of helpful to this collection. There will be a separate video once that arrives that will give you the ins and outs of what it is. But yeah, it's definitely going to be something that will help the role-playing aspect of the game and help fill out the setting a lot better. But yeah, there we have it. Issue 7 done and dusted. Alright, I'm going to put this away. Thank you again for watching, and until next time, keep rolling those crits.